Well, good afternoon. I think we'll go ahead and get started. We have one more guest coming down in a minute. Delighted to welcome you. This is the session on Central and East Europe. We have a wonderful panel put together today, academics, trainers, government leaders, in a fascinating area. Thank you. We'll be having our speakers speak alphabetically. So first we'll start with Indira Aslanova, who is the director of the Center for Religious Studies and an assistant professor of Kyrgyz Russian Slavic University in Kyrgyzstan. Indira works as a learning specialist for Search for Common Ground, major NGO in the region and internationally that works on issues including religious freedom. She's done quite a bit of research over many years on interreligious communications, freedom of religion or belief, violent extremism, terrorism, church-state relations, has served as an expert consultant on many of these issues for the UN, for Oslo Center for Human Rights, and for the Kyrgyzstan state government and NGOs. Second, we'll hear from Rashad Ibadov. Ibadov, thank you. I should have asked first. Who is the Dean of the School of Law at ADA University in Azerbaijan. Professor Rashad Ibadov is the founding dean and is also a visiting professor of law at Catholic University of Lille in France. He studied at European University Institute in Florence, Lund University in Sweden, and also at Khazar University in Baku. He has been a fellow or guest professor at Faculty of Law and Economics at Martin Luther University, Germany, Harvard Law School, School of Political Science at the University of Glasgow, Bolt Hall School of Law, UC Berkeley. His specialties are jurisprudence, constitutional law, and his areas of research include law and religion, political, legal philosophy, constitutional law, citizenship and identity in the post-Soviet space. Then we'll be delighted to hear from Sahib Naghiyev, who is the one member of our panel who is not merely an academic, speaking as an academic myself, but also involved at a very practical level. He serves as the deputy chairman of the State Committee on Religious Associations in Azerbaijan. His background is also in the military. He's a major general and has received many orders and awards in his service. Finally, we'll be hearing from Professor Vanja-Ivan Savić, who is a associate professor at the Catholic University of Croatia at the Faculty of Law. He teaches legal theory, law, religion, Middle East, North Africa region, human rights. You see a theme here. He has also published in the field of law and religion, legal theory, criminal law in journals around the world, including Cambridge, Lisbon, Columbia, Budapest, and others. He studied at University of Zagreb, has a PhD in law. He was a British Chevening Scholar at the University of Edinburgh, where he clerked for the Right Honourable Robert J. Reid, Baron of Alimur, who is now president have these four experts here today. We have short time, but we hope that we'll be greatly edified from them and hopefully have some time at the end as well to be able to raise questions and have some discussion. So first we'll start with Professor Aslanova.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to express my gratitude for the Elizabeth and BIU for having such a great event. I'm very honored and delighted to be here. So all of us feels more comfortable speaking in native language, so I will shift to Russian. Сегодня я хотела бы поговорить о том, как
I would like to talk today about the procedure, how we figure out if our efforts are successful to move the freedom of religion in the groups where we work, and how we identify success. A former reporter, Professor Ahmad Shahid, in his report in 2020, suggested a list of indicators which we can use to evaluate the level of freedom of religion in a certain country. They are more founded on the international law and on how the law is right in those aspects. But I would like to look at things from a different perspective. What are the local indicators of religious freedom?
Какие же, такие мысли, концепты?
What are the thoughts and concepts lie behind this method? I want to remind the words of Habermas. Norm is the situation where the members of discussion agree with this, what is considered norm. If all members consider the rights of others as well. If we talk about the fact that the Declaration of Human Rights was considered within many countries met together. Now the evaluation of success of this declaration is also should be considered implemented in many countries. And it's aimed on the evaluation of success of religious freedom. In order to, we needed to understand what are local indicators or grounded accountability model.
Локальной отчетности, да? На английском это ground accountability model.
A ground accountability model is what we used to evaluate the level of freedom of religion. It came out of the other model, which is more international, and we adapted this model for the needs of a quick response to the level of freedom of religion, in particular local situation. And we use the indicators asking the group itself for whom the measures are taken. These are discussions, group discussions with target groups. It allowed the participants and facilitators to generate a list of co-created and localized indicators. Participants had a chance to vote on the top indicators that resonate most with them.
Почему этот инструмент? Потому что
why exactly this method? Because communities know best what safety and security mean and stability mean to them. Understanding of the local context and the complexities of religious practices, beliefs, and dynamics in the region decolonizing is important, and it means honoring and recognizing local cultural specificities, preferences, and practices. Localizing indicators can help strengthen the capacity of local actors and institutions to take the lead in promoting freedom of religion. Ensure the sustainability of peace-building programs. We did use this method in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan and Indonesia and a few other countries, but I want to talk only in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. Questions were constructed in a way to understand different aspects of freedom of religion. When we to formulate the questions for the survey, we used the Declaration of Independence number 18, but we phrased it more simple, so people will understand when a person is alone by reads the news or seeks information from media, etc. And on the slide, there are results from religious minorities in Kyrgyzstan. Indicators are built on is kind of a wish list. They're not really indicators that we use in our academic studies, but then the programs are going to use them in their future studies. So I will not tell all the answers, but these indicators include civil society. Freedom of religion is like when religious minority can bury their dead in the government cemeteries. And then when some joint projects can be run without any problem with government. Kazakhstan mostly was based on government policies, on the traditional, non-traditional religions situation.
В Казахстане со стороны гражданского общества.
And
О чем нам говорят эти индикаторы?
what do we see with these indicators? That civil society are mostly focused on the religious majority. That's when they face violations of freedom of religion. Education for girls with hijab or religious minority issues are usually very loud cases which are presented in media. Religious minorities mostly pay attention to everyday activities, but civil society mostly focuses on laws. But there are limitations. We can't say for sure that this group can have all of the problems in the society. And that is why we say that any intervention should start with this method, which will show us what they need. Religious competition between different religion groups is an issue, we found out. And so we worked a lot we questioned people about the situation. We didn't talk about the doctrine of any religion, but we talked about the practical implementation of the religion and if there are any issues that people face.
О чем мы последнее, что хотела бы сказать.
The last thing I want to say, this method allows us.
Этот инструмент позволяет собрать очень такие
together fantastic personal stories to make the indicators alive, full of meaning. And they also locally developed indicators and great source for guiding actions and promoting accountability to local communities. Also, it says that the differences in indicators that tells us that our indicators should be specific, with full understanding in specific societies. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I'd like to first of all thank you to Professor Clark for kind introduction and also invitation to participate in this symposium. This is, I hope it's going to be an interesting presentation. This is a rather an academic paper, and I have to tell that it's not even first draft, and I would like to present this kind of first draft before you, maybe to get feedbacks and to improve this paper. And I here speak as a scholar, as a professor of law, rather than dean of the School of Law. And I would highly appreciate your comments, and I hope that this discussion will help me to improve this paper a little bit more. And this paper is interdisciplinary, so you will hear a lot of historical, sociological, political, but also legal arguments, and I'll try to encompass all my arguments within this short presentation. So I'd like to start with the methodological structure, and I would like to present the hypothesis of this paper. The idea of secularity has allegedly created certain challenges, primarily creating legal obstacles for fully exercising freedom of religion or belief in certain areas of public domain. And this, I see in this context two problem statements or two problems. And this paper is trying rather to deal with the first problem, and the second problem is kind of elaborated in the conclusion. So after the collapse of the Soviet Union, strong religious revivalism has started vis-a-vis the process of secular state building. Re-emerging traditional religious groups have been rather discreetly, but not only, advocating for the abolition of the principle of strong constitutional secularity, as it has allegedly impeded with some of the fundamental religious freedoms and interests. As a second problem, this situation may potentially affect the political identities of citizens, developing deep segmentation in the society, which could potentially bring constitutional calamities in the future. The questions I have are rather simplistic, so I tried to see which social legal factors have been historically affecting to the formation of strong secular foundations in the legal system of Muslim majority Republic of Azerbaijan, and what is the most suitable interpretation of the principle of constitutional secularity, which could maintain reasonable religious neutrality of the state, but also provide equally favorable environment for all religious groups and associations. The word traditionalism is stake there. The research tools I tend to use, this is interdisciplinary, doctrinal, comparative, and I have some interviews that I'd like to conduct. I did, but I would like also to conduct a few more interviews as well. So the short answer would be to understand and to conceptualize the competing challenges between constitutional secularity and new waves of religious revivalism. It's important to examine and analyze the social legal foundations of secularity in the context of Azerbaijan. And the contribution of this paper would be that for developing a more accommodative interpretation of the concept of secularity, allowing to improve properties of religious freedom in a Muslim-majority Republic of Azerbaijan, it would also contribute to understand the dynamics and nature of the state-religion relations in Azerbaijan. So just to summarize what I'm trying to do so far. So after the collapse of the Soviet Union, first of all, it's very often Azerbaijan is regarded the most secular state in Muslim world. And the secular foundations that we have been, you could observe this kind of secular approach to legal system and state policies almost in every area of public domain. And this paper, from one perspective, tries to explain how come we have had such kind of strong secular foundations in a Muslim majority state. That's the first kind of objective to research in this paper. And the second, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, religious revivalism started in Azerbaijan. So I call it traditional religious rehabilitation started. That's the term I call it. And it seems that, in my understanding, we're having a kind of competition, maybe in certain aspects clash between strong secular foundations and religious revivalism. And this paper, in that context, tries to understand secular foundations. What do we mean by secularity, and how come we have managed to have such kind of strong secular state in a Muslim majority country, and at the same time it offers how we should interpret the concept of secularity in order to avoid certain clashes that we are having or we are likely to have in the near future. So, well, this is, I think I don't have much time, but there are a number of factors affected for the secularization in Azerbaijan: new legal system, secular constitution, secular education, growing multi-ethnicity, non-religious political parties, existence of long-term Soviet atheism, secular literature, national newspapers and journals, theater, international trade, industrial relations, and foreign investment. Periods of secularization in Azerbaijan I divide into 4 periods. The first one is called Russification period, and it starts from 1828-1905, and the second period is called Birth of National Renaissance period, and then the third is Sovietization period between 1920 and 1991, and the last one is it's called I call it National State Building period. So I try to study the idea of secularization in this cultural or socio-cultural, in the context of socio-cultural development. I have very few minutes left, so I'm gonna very quickly go through these slides. So first period was very important in terms of secularization, and most importantly, the legal documents were playing an important role. The first one was the Russian Municipal Statute of 1870, and the second one was 1872 regulations, which established Transcaucasian Muslim clergy, both for Sunnis and for Shias. that would be for not for only Azerbaijan, but for the entire Caucasus, these two regulations. For example, 1872 regulation would say testing the knowledge would allow to the clergies to test the knowledge of faith of individuals, issue that they had right to deal with issues related to marriage, family, inheritance, organizing the work of Islamic schools, management of religious foundations. The first is Russian Islamic girls' school was founded, and another important point, new intelligentsia played a role in the transformation of the Russian and European secularity in Azerbaijan society. Industrialization was very important. Lots of European companies were involved in oil business in Baku, and you could see their Nobel Brothers Company, Russian General Oil Corporation, Royal Dutch Shell, Baku Oil Company, etc. And that also brought lots of nationalities and religious ethnicities to Azerbaijan. 1905, 1920, that's a national renaissance period, and it also included lots of political and legal movements, starting with the All-Russian Muslim Congress, convening of the All-Russian Muslim Congress, political recognition of Muslims, first political party, emergence of political parties, publication of national journals, newspapers in Azerbaijani. Educational institutions, secular education institutions were founded, 940 elementary schools, 32 high schools, and most importantly, first Azerbaijan Democratic Republic that's called, it was founded in 1918 with the Declaration of Independence. The third period is Sovietization, and here we have a number of constitutions of Azerbaijan which all declared Azerbaijan SSR, separation of state and school from religion, and recognized all religious as well as anti-religious propaganda as part of the freedom of conscience. Interesting facts here, that's not related particular to Azerbaijan, but for the entire region. So you have 300 functioning churches out of more than 50,000 in 1939. 6 million people were involved in atheist propaganda. And 80,000 Orthodox priests, monks, and nuns had lost their lives. All church bells were melted down as precious metal. Only 16 registered mosques and 1 madrasa in Azerbaijan existed in 1976. And religious holidays were indirectly forbidden. Pilgrimages to holy places were also forbidden by sacred instructions. And the fourth period is national state building period, which is, I think, the most interesting point, because there's a paradox here. From one side, there is strong religious Islamic or strong religious revivalism in the country, and on the other side, we still have strong secular traditions, or the secularity of the state still successfully continuing. So here I put a number of reasons for religious revivalism: political, psychological trauma, geostrategic location of Azerbaijan, new political ties with Islamic countries, new constitution of 1995, and also on the side of strong secularization, why we still have such a strong secular country. First of all, because of the constitution. Constitution directly gives a reference to secularity of the state. And public education is of secular nature. And there are a number of restrictions on religious ministers to get appointed for state agencies. The law on religious freedom adopted in 1992 also is quite on secular aspect, but it also recognizes a lot of religious freedoms, like Constitution of Azerbaijan, but I put here, I don't have, unfortunately, time to elaborate a little bit on that. But this is the instrument, the main instrument for the state manage the secular relationship toward religious associations. And you've got here a number of laws related to secular education. I mentioned a few of them in this presentation. And we have here other important factors which maintain the secularization. And one of them I'd like to specifically mention is strong security concerns. Because in Azerbaijan, I observe that we are a little bit strengthening the regulation regarding religious freedom, particularly related to non-recognized religious associations in the country. And this is because of, this has particularly been done toward Islamic organizations or associations which are not recognized in Azerbaijan, legally speaking. And the main reason for that is a security concern. So here, rule of politics become a leading component for the rule of law. So when the law is applied, the politics, the rule of politics is kind of leading the discussion rather than the legal argument. And what to do? And this is the last that I put questions for myself and for you. Continue improving on a suitable model of the state-religion relations in Azerbaijan, what we could do possibly. Extend the list of religious liberties, maybe offer religious education in public schools, bringing up religious ministers who are solely trained in Azerbaijan. And that's when I mean religious ministers, I specifically talk about religious ministers related to Islamic religious denominations. Ensure substantive methods for implementing strategic communications, establish public domains for exchange of ideas on questions over how to continue living peacefully together among consciously divided people or citizens. Caucasian Muslim Board and non-Muslim religious centers, civil society institutions, educational establishments, and mass media platforms must enhance their roles in building stronger social cooperation. So this is the end of the presentation. And again, the idea is, first of all, to look from historical perspectives, how come we had, just to conclude, how come that in a Muslim majority state exists such a strong secular foundations, and to observe or to examine how to interpret concept of secularity in modern Azerbaijan, which allegedly clash with religious revivalism, which is pretty strong in the country, in my opinion. Thank you so much.
Hörmətli simpozium iştirakçıları, axşamınız xeyirli olsun. Fikirlərimi dəqiq çatdırmaq üçün
Salam, hamınıza salam. Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome here. I would like to speak in English. Azerbaijan, located at the crossroads of East and West, has made unbelievable contributions to human history, culture, and literature, and has been distinguished by its struggle for the establishment of peace, tranquility, and prosperity. On May 28, 1918, our people demonstrated their loyalty to human rights and freedoms by establishing the first democratic republic in Islamic geography with the slogan "Freedom for People, Independence for Nations." At the same time, in 1920, before the United States, England, and other countries, it declared that it was open to progressive ideas by giving women the right to vote. We must regretfully note that in April 1920, the 23 months independence of the Azerbaijan Democratic Republic was ended by the Bolsheviks, and the political and cultural development of our people was severely affected, and the integration of our country with the world was blocked for 70 years. After regaining the independence on October 18, 1991, the Republic of Azerbaijan began to establish its historical traditions of statehood and to implement the ideas of its successor, the Azerbaijan Democratic Republic, based on universal values. Within a short time, our country became a member of the United Nations Organization and UNESCO. For obvious reasons, the Republic of Azerbaijan, which was deprived of voting for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, declared that it would remain loyal to human rights and democracy after regaining its independence, and once again confirmed the irreversibility of democracy. A large chapter now, a constitution, which was adopted by popular vote in 1995, is dedicated to human rights. Laws arising from the provisions of the Constitution, which include human rights and freedoms as the main criterion, have been adopted. Work has been done to implement them, and important measures have been taken to protect human rights and freedoms. Azerbaijan has adopted UN resolutions on the political rights of women, on the status of refugees, on the rights of children, on the protection of cultural resources during armed conflict, joined international conventions and protocols. Important steps were taken in the direction of implementation of legislative acts. At the same time, Azerbaijan is one of the active participants in the establishment of peace and tranquility in the world and the fight against international terrorism. The officers and soldiers of the armed forces of the Republic of Azerbaijan joined the peacekeeping mission of the international coalition in Kosovo, Iraq, Afghanistan, and South Sudan, and closely participated in the prevention of humanitarian disasters. In general, protection of freedom and conscience and religion has always been one of the main directions in independent Azerbaijan. Despite the fact that our country is located in a rather sensitive region, the protection of tolerance and multiculturalism is always in the center of attention. The legislative framework related to religious freedom is being improved. Measures are being implemented for the financing of religious communities and the free performance of religious rights. The constitution of our country declares that the Republic of Azerbaijan is a democratic, legal, and secular state. Religious beliefs and convictions do not justify violations of law. The equality of all religions before the law is established. Freedom of expression and conscience is given ample space, and free determination of attitudes to religion and beliefs is ensured. At the same time, it is stated here that religion is separate from the state, that education is of a secular nature, and there are restrictions on the political activity of religious figures. With this, the free and independent activities of religious communities are guaranteed. In addition to the mentioned, other legislative acts related to the religious field were adopted. Additions and changes were made to them in harmony with the democratic development of the society. By making additions and changes to the law, a legal framework was built which adapted to the requirements of the modern era.
Din xadimlərinin təyinatı, o cümlədən din sahəsi üzrə kadrların hazırlanması ilə bağlı hüquqi baza yaradılmışdır.
Currently, there are 1,002 state-registered religious communities operating in Azerbaijan, of which 26 are Christian, 8 are Jewish, and 2 are Baha'i, and 1 are Krishna, and the rest are Muslim religious communities. As I have already stated, Azerbaijan is located on a rather sensitive geography from a political, including a religious point of view. Our country, which borders countries such as Russia and Iran, has historically had religious and cultural relations with countries such as Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan, where armed conflicts have occurred. At the same time, the attempts of certain forces claiming hegemony in the region to secure their interests in Azerbaijan through religion have led to the spread of radical and extremist religious movements in our country. The lack of personnel in the field of religion, the occupation of the territories of Azerbaijan by the Armenian armed forces, and the economic and political crisis created favorable conditions for these processes. It is under the influence of foreign circles that hundreds of Azerbaijani citizens joined and died in conflicts in illegal armed groups in Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan under the name of Holy War. During these conflicts, the radical Shiites from Azerbaijan, in turn, created groups called Fatimiya and Husseyniyun to protect the holy places. As a result, Azerbaijanis were the ones who fought and died on both sides. This, in turn, is a clear example of religion's involvement in politics. In recent times, under the influence of foreign circles, some religious groups have targeted the constitutional state structure of the Republic of Azerbaijan, secularism. Calls are being made to establish a Sharia state in our country under the name of Karim state. In order to prevent the mentioned cases, radical extremist activities under the name of religion, in 2015, the law on combating religious extremism was adopted. After the adoption of this law, the cases of Azerbaijani citizens joining armed conflicts outside the country's borders have decreased. Measures are being taken to prevent religious associations in our country from falling under the influence of foreign circles and to create immunity against their certain tempting proposals. Steps are being taken to stimulate the activities of religious communities in our country, especially in the formation of financial resources. Every year, the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan signs an order on promoting financial assistance to religious denominations operating in the country. Religious associations themselves determine the direction of using said funds. At the same time, clerics are given monthly financial support, which plays an important role in preventing them from falling under the influence of radical and extremist religious groups. Here we must emphasize that the head of state has established a moral values promotion fund under the Committee to finance the social projects of religious communities, including the activities of religious figures. The foundation regularly implements various projects, organizes conferences and seminars in order to promote the culture of dialogue and strengthen solidarity between religious denominations and sects in Azerbaijan.
One of the issues regulating state-religion relations is supporting the activities of places of worship. As you know, during the 70-year Soviet era, more than 1,000 places of religious worship, mosques, churches, synagogues were destroyed, and in some cases they were changed into warehouses and clubs. Until 1991, only 17 mosques were allowed to operate. After our state gained independence, all the houses of worship were given to the use of believers, and hundreds of new houses of worship were built. Today, mosques, synagogues, and churches operate in the center of Baku city, very close to each other. The state pays special attention to eliminating the shortage of personnel in the religious field. In addition to supporting the activities of religious organizations and religious educational institutions, the Azerbaijan Institute of Theology was established in 2018 by the decree of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan. As a result of the mentioned measures, today Azerbaijan has become one of the countries in the world where multicultural and tolerant values are stably protected. Conferences, forums, and other events related to the formation of dialect culture, intercultural solidarity, and friendship are regularly held in our country. In 2008, on the initiative of the Republic of Azerbaijan, the Baku Process Platform was created in order to establish an efficient and effective dialogue between cultures and civilizations. Under the auspices of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, the Global Baku Forum is organized every year under the auspices of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan and organized by the Nizami Ganjevi International Center. The Year of Multiculturalism, and 2017 was declared the Year of Islamic Solidarity. In the end, I would like to emphasize that currently there are conflicting moments regarding religion and people's beliefs. Ignorance and lack of education play a major role in the emergence of negative tendencies such as religious radicalism and extremism. However, sometimes unnecessary campaigns against religions are carried out under the name of freedom of speech and expression, and the dignity of religious people is touched. Today, in countries with high social welfare, such as Sweden and Denmark, the burning of the Holy Quran gives some radical groups an opportunity to mask their interests under the name of holy wars. Threats are made to peace and tranquility in the world. The course of events dictates to us not only to think and discuss, but also to act. The realization of the set goals depends on the sincerity and determination of the parties. For this, every state should approach the fight against terrorism, extremism, and radicalism not in the framework of its own interests, but in the context of the protection of universal values. Thank you for your attention. If anyone has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Everybody hates last speaker. We'll change that. Yeah. The truth is that I don't have a presentation. Well, that's not the complete truth. I have this. But I have something else with a few words I want to share with you. Just don't take photos of this. I didn't resolve copyright issues yet. So briefly, Croatia, Central European country, 1991 we get independence. One of the first countries which recognized Croatia was Holy See, which was really unusual because Vatican always recognized at the last moment as one of the last countries. But then Pope was John Paul II who insisted that Croatia should be recognized very fast. And as a consequence of this, Croatia has, and because of historical reasons, has excellent diplomatic relationships with the Vatican, with the Holy See, and we have 4 agreements signed with the Holy See about various issues. Among them are legal issues. What Croatia did, especially after the war we had after 1995, what we did, we signed a similar agreement according to agreements which was signed with the Holy See, with all religious communities which were registered in Croatia. So under the similar scheme, contracts between state and Islamic community, Jewish community, Protestant communities, and so on were signed. So the fact is that in Croatia, most of religious communities which are not Catholic, Croatia is predominantly Catholic, basically being Croatian means being Catholic. Actually, they all support Catholic Church and its position within society, because the pattern of making agreements and making interreligious, there's actually vertical and horizontal cooperation. Vertical cooperation would be cooperation between religious organizations and the state, but vertical cooperation goes within religious communities themselves. So I would say that Croatia is quite a good example of having good country which respects religious freedoms. I don't know, this is interesting for Muslim believers, but Croatia was the only second country in Europe which recognized Islam as officially recognized Islam as a officially recognized religion. Only after Austria did it in 1912, Croatia did it, Croatian parliament did it in 1914. So those two countries have established relationship with Islamic community, Austria and Croatia. And I will just try to be very brief about the situation in Croatia. Actually, I stopped because I see it's 2 minutes to 5. And you know, I'll try to be really brief. But when I started doing law and religion and religious freedoms, I was a corporate lawyer. I came after studies in United Kingdom in Edinburgh. I came back to Croatia and got a position at the university. I was very much interested in religion and theology and how people live together. And I was thinking, well, I'm a lawyer. I should do something about it. You know, law has to have a position. How to use law as a tool for religious cohabitation. Law has some power to do it. If we can regulate business enterprises, if we can regulate roads and airports, probably law can do something to help people living together in a more harmonious way. So when I started doing it, I was the first scholar in Croatia because we were under socialist rule before. Nobody did that. And people were looking at me and say, oh man, what's wrong with you? You know, you're a corporate lawyer, you have master thesis in business law, you want to do religion? No money there, just don't do it. So I'm glad I didn't listen to them because I really enjoy what I do. And I'm here at BYU, I have friends, I'm a vet here. This is not my first time in Provo. And I was thinking as a scholar, now people, I'm doing something completely different. People again are saying, oh, "What's wrong with you? You're working on a children's book." So I want to show you something what I'm doing for last year with a professor from the Academy of Arts from University of Zagreb. I realized that if we want to change the world through law, we have to teach children what the rules are, and rules are not always written because law has ability to talk with pictures, with music. You know, there is a famous discussion about what is the shape of law? Is it only word? No, it's picture as well, it's music. Law can be transmitted various forms. So what I did, it was a crazy thing. Professor of law is drawing, actually. This was my idea what to do, and my friend actually drew this. So this will be published soon, I hope, in few languages. I want to show you what I did. This is just a street in my capital, in Zagreb. You see just people are walking in the same street. You will see, just notice, there is a small detail, this stripe, which we will see on all pictures. So this is just the first, this is undercover page of my, so this is a exclusive thing. Nobody saw it before. You see, people are coming to somebody's apartment, and you see details of various, people of different religions are actually exiting the same room and they have a good time somewhere. This is somebody's apartment. You know, because Croatia was part of Austro-Hungarian Empire, many apartments have subject like that, this in front of their apartment. So there is a Jewish scarf and hats and music of an atheist. You will see it later. There's a rosary. So they're all coming together to see a same friend. This is Zagreb with various churches and religious buildings. There is a mosque. And so those are who lives in Croatia. Children don't know who are the people around them. So Catholics, Orthodox. You see the stripe is connecting all people because we like to wrap our presence. So, you know, people are the same wherever you go. They have same needs and desires. And Muslims, this is iftar, you know, iftar evening, and in Arabic it's salam here written, which is peace. Protestants, Jews, dreidel game on Hanukkah, and everybody else. And those guys, everybody knows them. Yeah. So this is a bus station in my hometown. And And of course, other people who don't believe, humanists, everybody has something inside, even he doesn't know or she doesn't know that believes in God. And that's me and my friend. He's an author. And the title of the book will be The Land of Religious Freedoms. And this is Croatia. This is my homeland. Also in stripe. This is Adriatic Sea, and I put a little bit of Italy here just for friendly relationship with my vicini Italiani. Here's my friend from Italy. So this is really, I'm glad that I'm the last speaker, because you are all tired, and what tired man needs before go to bed? A nice fairy tale. Thank you.